Hi guys, Ron Placone here. You're watching another summary from the Indie Bohemians morning show. And also, today's a little bit different. This is also something that I wanted to do for Media Bites, but on the morning show today, I didn't want to do a pre-recorded Media Bites like I usually do. I wanted to do a kind of more panel discussion around it, so I figured I would do the same thing on YouTube. So this is sort of a kind of joint idea clip, if you will, because I feel that right now the topic is very relevant and very interesting. And what I'm talking about is some of the media response to Robin Williams' death. And of course, Shepard Smith was one of the more noteworthy ones. In fact, I want to read his actual quote here because I have a number of issues with it, and I want to go through each of those. Now, he has since apologized, just to be fair here. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? This is Shepard Smith talking about Robin Williams' death. It's hard to imagine, isn't it? You could love three little things so much, which he's referring to as children, watch them grow, they're in their mid-20s, and they're inspiring you and exciting you. They fill you up with the kind of joy you could never have known. And yet something inside you is so horrible, or you're such a coward, or whatever the reason, that you decide you have to end it. Robin Williams at 63 did that today. Now, I have an issue with this for a number of reasons. First of all, it kind of, I'm not a parent. I do not have any children. And I know something people like to say that, like, you can't understand certain things unless you are a parent yourself, and I agree with that. I salute parents. I have nothing but respect for them, and I completely agree that there are certain things that I will never be able to understand unless I am a parent myself, which I might be someday, I might not be, I don't know. But I completely agree with that. There's certain things that I just cannot understand. Not having, I have a cat. That's as close as I get, and they're not even in the same league. I understand that, and I fully agree with that. On the same note, just because you do have kids, or you do, I mean, the whole statement here with these three creatures, as if that's the only thing going on for Robin Williams, as if there wasn't other things going on in his life, as if he didn't have this struggle with addiction, a struggle with depression, a body of work that is beyond impressive, other people that he inspired in his life. There's a lot more to a person than their ability to populate the planet. A lot of people are more complex than that. And maybe in Shepard Smith's world, and in some of the viewers that he's reaching that tune into Fox News, maybe for them that's not quite the case. Maybe for a lot of those types of viewers, maybe just breeding is the only thing they've ever done that's noteworthy with themselves. They've just, worked somewhere, never asked questions, put other people on the planet, and that's all that life's about, and eventually you die. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not necessarily judging that, but you know what? For some people, there's a little more to it than that, and I think Robin Williams was a much more complex person than that. So Shepard Smith, there's more to people than just the children they have. There's more of the struggle. The other thing I take with this is that it's completely dismissing the idea that suicide is a disease, or excuse me, that depression is a disease, that addiction is a disease, that people can just, oh, try harder, oh, change your mood. And I think that's a really popular misconception, and I think it comes from a place of ignorance. It comes from a place of just not understanding or wanting to understand. It comes from a place of arrogance. I think well, how can you're kids? How can you not? Well, there's more to it than that. There's a lot more to it than that. And I think the analogy I made on the air earlier, and I don't think this is a perfect analogy, but I think it kind of gets at the case, because everybody gets depressed sometimes, right? That's very universal. But there is a difference between getting depressed every now and again because bad things happen and having chronic depression, crippling depression, or diagnosed bipolar. Those are two different things. That would be like somebody having an immune deficiency that they can barely survive the common cold, and then someone else being like, well, everyone gets a common cold. What's your problem? Get over it. And again, not a perfect analogy, but that's kind of in the vein of somebody getting depressed every now and again versus somebody with very serious depression. Those are two different things. And one of the popular sentiments that's out there is suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Even though I think that the kind of moral compass behind that statement might be genuine, I don't think that's true. I think that in a lot of ways, suicide is a permanent solution to a problem that may always be there, but there is help. And I would hope that people try to seek out that help. I would hope that people realize that even in the darkest time, there's still a reason waiting around the corner. There's still some amount of joy. There's still something to live for. There's still something to try for. There's still more help that's out there, and it's an evolving process. I hope that people that feel desperate go to that conclusion. But if they don't, and if they check out, I can't even try to pretend like I understand their psyche or I understand why they did it, nor do I have any right to judge them. And I think that's why the statement, and Shepard Smith has since apologized for this. He has backtracked on this. He has apologized. But it's just it was very ugly and very short-sighted. And I think we see that a lot. And then, of course, Rush Limbaugh came out and said, oh, well, one of the reasons Robin Williams killed himself is because he's a liberal. I mean, he decided to politicize the whole thing, as if, and this again goes into the whole idea that you don't entertain the notion that depression is a disease. In Rush Limbaugh's world, Robin Williams was sitting around reading Noam Chomsky and was like, well, this is heavy. I'm going to go die now, like as if it was that simple. And Fox News in particular has a very interesting track record. I mean, when Carlin died, what they did to him, I thought was disgusting. They have a long record when it comes to the arts. I mean, Fox News is to the arts what termites are to wood. It's absolutely disgusting, and I think it's rooted from just this certain not understanding of free thinking. Not just, and more on the corporate media in general. I mean, Fox News in particular, but I think the entire corporate media is guilty of some of those similar things. And I think in this case, with Robin Williams, it's a really good opportunity to kind of look at some of these preconceived notions about suicide that aren't actually true. I mean, some people on NPR, the gentleman that wrote The Myths About Suicide was coming out, people say suicide is selfish and stuff like this. In a lot of ways, that's perspective, because a lot of times the suicidal person is thinking, well, I'm better, people are better off with my death than they are with me to keep going. So in a lot of ways, that's not selfish at all. It's actually the opposite. It's selfless. So this is an issue, and these are diseases, and there's perspectives that need to be looked at here, and to just cast judgment or to deem something as cowardly when you don't know, when you really don't know what was going on in that person's head, what was going through their mind, what they were really dealing with, what other attributes were going through their psyche, through their body. It's very irresponsible and very short-sighted and very sad. And I think maybe if there's one thing that we can get from all this, from Robin Williams' death, to take as a positive, that maybe it's time we start re-examining these things. And suicide is not the way that I want people to go, that I think anyone really wants people to go, because it seems like there are, but somebody that goes that route, you need to try to understand the psyche so that you can help them, not so that you can judge them, so that you can write them off, so that you can dismiss something as cowardly. You need to say, gee, how can we try to paint the narrative that there's still some hope out there, that even when you're feeling the most significant level of desperation, there's still something to kind of grab onto, and we hope people make that decision. But again, if they don't, well, we can only understand so much as to why they didn't. So this is an interesting thing to watch in the media, and I think it maybe gives us an opportunity to re-examine some preconceived notions about a lot of things, about mental illness, about death, about suicide, about the struggle of an individual, whether they be an artist or what have you. And this has been something interesting to see in the press. And then, of course, Chris Fields and his Twitter debacle, which was just another sign of the incivility. At the end of that, he made a joke about maybe I'll get depressed and then what, kind of making it out like depression is not really a thing. I mean, that's the common theme that Rush Limbaugh, Chris Fields on Twitter, and Shepard Smith all have in common. It seems like they're kind of marginalizing the idea that depression is a serious thing, and depression is a serious thing. It's a very serious thing. So thank you for watching this summary from the Indie Bohemians Morning Show, and this is Ron Placone signing out. We'll talk to you tomorrow.